Finally, there came that one time when he stared out the window, and the cocaine in his veins could no longer hide reality from his poet's eyes. Clutching a hypodermic syringe in his fist, he stepped up onto the windowsill and hurled himself towards the evening traffic, far, far below. Strange how it had all begun with such promise. Brother workers, the sun of our times has risen. To understand the new art, one must understand the new language of form. Once again, art is becoming religion. The artist will free the dying soul of Europe. For us, art is always a formalized expression of religious experience. Expressionism is not the will of a few. It is destiny. A 1905 art exhibition held in the showroom of a Dresden lampshade factory was the birth of a revolution. Kirchner, Schmidt-Rottluff, Heckel, and Bleyl, willful young men of extraordinary vision, took the name Die Brücke. Their art protested against stale academic art and the materialistic society which supported it. Their art was meant to be a bridge to the new man and the new society. Their search for purely intuitive art led from their studios to the Moritzburg Lakes, the Dresden Ethnographic Museum, and inevitably to Berlin. At the Galerie der Sturm of Herwarth Walden, alongside the likes of Klee, Chagall, Jawlensky, Kokoschka, the Futurists, and the Blaureiter, members of Die Brücke found artistic recognition. But breaking new aesthetic ground wasn't enough. Beneath the glamour of Berlin, they sensed its soulless indifference and despaired of ever being able to alleviate the suffering of mankind. However, Die Brücke would inspire a whole new generation who would adopt the new art and attempt to realize its full purpose. By 1914, Berlin was a hotbed of German Expressionism. In cafes like the Megalomania, in Café des Westens, a smoke-hazy air swirled with endless discussions of the rapidly approaching, long-awaited-for utopia. Outside, though, ominous storm clouds gathered on the horizon. The distant boom of thunder rattled window panes and crockery, stilling all conversation. But it wasn't the sound of thunder after all. It was the sound of artillery. Germany was at war. Most marched off to war singing patriotic songs, proud to serve the fatherland. Many expressionists enlisted, welcoming the war as a purifying fire sent to cleanse the earth of corruption. They found that war wasn't the dawning of a new world. War was a glimpse into the dark abyss, a nightmare tangle of barbed wire, shattered trees, and men's twisted limbs set against a burning sky. And over it all, death did its dance. Farmer, clerk, miner, and factory worker suffered and died alike on the battlefield. But the artist suffered for them all and was transformed. First-generation expressionist Kirchner, his mind scarred by battle, fled to Switzerland soon after his discharge. Max Beckmann forevermore saw the world through a war-ravaged soul. Otto Dix produced a bitter visual record of war's horrors. Kollwitz, who had herself lost a son in the war, captured the sense of loss shared by all mourning parents and widows in 7 stark woodcuts. The expressionist at home bitterly denounced the war, attacking it from the pages of journals like the Action. Peace! Peace! They cried. Enough have died. Workers, sailors, and soldiers roamed the streets. The revolution was on the lips of everyone. Kaiser Wilhelm II fled for his life to Holland, and on November 10, 1918, a provisional government was formed. Those expressionists who limped home with the rest of the defeated German army found streets filled with revolutionaries. They found a chance to fulfill their destiny. Building on the aesthetic revolution of their predecessors, the artists of the second generation were free to exploit a variety of artistic styles to bring about their social revolution. Through artistic means, they would become prophets of a new age, leading their proletarian brother to the new Germany. The founding of the Workers' Council for Art in Berlin by the architects Adolf Behne, Walter Gropius, and Bruno Taut served as a signal to artists throughout Germany. Art and the people must form a unity. The arts shall no longer be the enjoyment of the few, but the happiness and life of the masses. Artists César Klein, Moritz Melzer, Heinrich Richter Berlin joined with older expressionists Georg Tappert and Max Pechstein to form the November Gruppe in Berlin. They called upon all Cubists, Futurists, and Expressionists to join them and proclaimed, "We are standing on the fertile soil of revolution. Our slogan is freedom, equality, fraternity. We are uniting because we have human and artistic convictions in common. We believe that our first duty is to dedicate all our energies to the moral regeneration of a young and free Germany." Pitched battles in the streets continued between rival political factions. Others, bearing the mark of the old imperial eagle, withdrew into the shadows and waited, biding their time. Called upon by the provisional government to do their duty, the Expressionists produced a blizzard of posters that seemed to cover every flat surface of every city in Germany. And to this, they added hundreds of pamphlets and broadsheets. They exhorted the factory worker, farmer, and miner to return to work, to vote in the upcoming elections. They warned against civil strife. They pointed the way towards the utopia near at hand. But there were other posters as well. Posters that warned against the inhuman, bloodthirsty Bolsheviks. Posters full of hate. Soon after it was constituted in January 1919, the Weimar Republic moved swiftly to crush the Spartacist uprisings in Berlin. 100 died, and hundreds more were wounded. After their arrest, Spartacist leaders Karl Liebknecht and Rosa Luxemburg were murdered by government troops. Their deaths and those of other political leaders brought cries of grief and outrage from their followers while inspiring powerful works of art. But even as the Expressionists mourned and paid tribute to these martyrs of the cause, their revolutionary fervor, rekindled by the revolution in the streets, swept across Germany like a firestorm, igniting radical artistic responses everywhere. In Dresden, the birthplace of Expressionism, 23-year-old Konrad Felixmüller and Otto Dix founded the artist group, Dresden Secession Group, 1919. Poet member Walter Reiner said of them, "The painters who now make their entrance are young, heralds of a new world. They call out to you. Don't look for what your all too weary eye expects to see. That world of yours is falling apart, can't you see? Turn from your blindness, school the eye, school the spirit. You are human, and this is about you." In Düsseldorf, Das Junge Rheinland, the Young Rhineland, formed to win for young Rhineland artists at long last, the place in German artistic life that is their due. At exhibitions in Mother Eye's combined gallery and bakery, visions of the new world mingled with the sweet aroma of baking bread. And it seemed everywhere in Germany, Barmen, Bielefeld, Cologne, Darmstadt, Halle, Hamburg, Hanover, Karlsruhe, Kiel, Magdeburg, and Munich, radical artist groups were trying to influence and shape the new society. They organized art exhibitions and lectures, put on theatrical productions, and published dozens of periodicals. But all their well-intentioned rhetoric couldn't drown out the despairing cry of matches, matches, from the streets where beggars and crippled war veterans tried to sell enough to eat. As famine and uncertainty swept the land, some artists searched for answers in biblical themes, such as the Last Judgment, the crucifixion, and the martyrdom of Saint Sebastian. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Pechstein's, the Lord's Prayer, seemed to be offered up on behalf of an entire long-suffering nation. In Berlin, during the March 1919 strikes, the government ordered that all armed civilians be shot on sight. 1,200 died, and thousands were imprisoned. Behind these bloody episodes, the iron fist of the old imperial order was sensed. Kollwitz said, "The child has turned out to be no infant prodigy after all, but one who resembles his parents too much." The Expressionists felt betrayed, and as the revolution in the streets died a violent death, their revolutionary fervor began to wane. The workers themselves had never understood the Expressionist style. They thought it blasphemous. They felt it mocked them, and they rejected it. Most of the artists, their dreams dissolving like the radical groups they belonged to, retreated to the safety of their studios, far from the political realities of the street. Some continued using the strident vocabulary of Expressionism. Some moved further away from objective reality, borrowing from the Cubists and Futurists, evolving into abstract Expressionism. Still others tried to build upon the gains the movement had brought about. The state-supported Bauhaus School of Art and the rise of new objectivity. In 1925, the suicide of poet and addict Walter Reiner symbolized the end of German Expressionism as a movement. But the spirit of Expressionism lived on, sustaining a dream that someday a future generation of artists would lead an enlightened mankind to utopia.